Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're doing well. After 12 years of waiting, Growing Liberty is finally here, and I got to play it, and oh boy. I think the only word I can use to describe my overall feelings of playing the game is disappointment. I'm probably like the biggest shill for NCSoft. I played L2 for plus 7 years. I enjoyed all their games so far, even some of the bad ones like the Master X Master and some of the mobile ones like L2M. And I really just couldn't do it. Like, I couldn't really get past level 20 without like quitting the game and just uninstalling. But yeah, let's talk about it. Let's go through my first impressions for the game. To start the game, you get smacked with this massive list of servers, which reminds me a lot of their mobile games already, which is not a good thing for me, making the server choice already overwhelming to players. I thought most of the content was cross-server anyway, so I don't know why we're picking the server here. After you pick the server, you get to create your character. And here you already notice how good the game looks. The graphical fidelity on this game is incredible. The characters look amazing. Character creator gives you a decent amount of customization. It's not quite the level of like Aeon and BDO, but it's good enough for me in my opinion. I do question a little bit the fact that we only have a human as a playable race. I feel like that's extremely lazy, especially that this game was supposed to be in the Lineage franchise, and that game has a lot of different races you get to play with, so where are the other races? That's really my question for the game. After you create your character, you get to do this kind of a short tutorial. You run around, you do a little bit of a combat. I had this weird bug where I couldn't swap my weapon, so I kind of had to rebind that, but that's a small thing. After you go through the small tutorial zone, you get kind of dropped into the world, get like a good overview of how the world looks like, and again, I would be lying to myself. This is probably one of the most gorgeous MMORPGs we have, graphically. I do think when it comes to the aesthetics of the game, it's a bit lacking and quite generic in my opinion, but I think the fact that graphical fidelity is so high, I don't really mind that too much. Here you also get to test all the weapons on the dummies, which is something I always appreciate. I didn't really like any of the melee weapons, so I went with the crossbows and the bow, which is kind of obvious choice for me. I also like that you have so many skills unlocked in the beginning, so you get kind of a taste of the combat pretty early on, which is good and bad, I guess. Then you run around the town a little bit, and you also get to use the morph system quite a bit, which seems to be dividing people. Personally, I don't really mind the morph system that much because it was a mechanic already in Lineage 2, and anyone who played it long enough, they probably understand the mechanic. But I can see why people would prefer mounts over the morph system. Then you get to fly in, and you get to fight your first kind of a boss fight, which is supposed to showcase the combat. And here's kind of the first moment when I thought to myself that I'm just gonna Alt F4 and uninstall the game and never look back. I just don't really like the combat at all. It feels very floaty. It feels like I'm not controlling my character, like almost like the autoplay is gonna kick in and I'm just gonna watch my character do the boss for me. And then you have the whole camera smoothing, which is awful. And there seems to be no proper way to remove it or fix it yet, so hopefully they let us fix that eventually. But the camera smoothing alone is kind of making the game unplayable for me, at least the combat part. Then after you defeat the boss, you actually get to the first town. And here you can see also how the game looks incredible. Graphically, it looks so good. It's asking me to link the Amazon, which obviously I'm not gonna do. And here you can also test how the game runs on your computer. So I have a 5800X 3D and 3080, and this game runs so smooth, which is incredible. I have to give them a major credit for that, because a lot of the modern games run like shit, and especially MMOs recently have been running terrible. So the fact that this game feels pretty optimized, it's surprising, and it's pretty amazing. And here finally you get to fix up your UI. I'm not sure why this is locked in on the early game, like why are you able to fix up your UI early on, but finally we get to do it, which is awesome. After I got my UI fixed, I just pretty much run around, hit F like your normal kind of questing. Pretty basic, pretty boring. F clicking simulator, kind of like some other Korean MMOs like Lost Ark. I think there was a whole meme around that. There's definitely a lot of like mobs and stuff from the Lineage franchise, which is kind of hitting my nostalgia pretty well. I've seen all kinds of mobs and stuff that I killed before, which is cool. There's quite a bit of running around, but you also have a fast travel, which is really good. Like you get to fast travel quite a bit around the world, so it will cut the runtime quite a bit, which is a positive thing. Then we get the classic Korean game thing where it tells me to stop playing it because I've been playing for 3 hours. Not gonna happen. At this point I was pretty much just going through the game, doing questing until something interesting happens. And then I finally get to introduce with the whole gear enhancing system, which seems to be very common, kind of very basic Korean MMO gearing system where you just kind of plus the gear. I don't really like this type of gear system anymore. Like, I've played it for years, and I would kind of prefer crafted gear nowadays without the whole enhancing system, which also the game like introduces in around here, where you get to craft your pieces. But then again, I'm not a big fan of this, that everyone can craft their own gear. I much prefer the idea that you have to like make some meaningful choices and just kind of pick a crafting. I really like the concept of like what we had in L2, where only like specific class and race could be crafting, and then they would sell the items for everyone else. This just seems kind of uninspiring and boring to me, which seems to be the theme with the game, so I guess it's understandable. But then after I craft my armor, I put it on, and there's a visual change on my character, so I have to give them points for that. So after all that, I just keep questing. I hit around level 11, and I'm like, oh gosh, I feel like quitting the game. So I go around, I do what every sane person would do, go around the internet and check what other people say about the game. I was kind of reading that people are saying it gets better after you hit like level 15, so I thought, what the hell, I'm gonna give it a benefit of doubt, and I'm gonna keep on going. I'm gonna push myself and try to just go a little bit further. Maybe something happens around level 15 that makes the game actually fun. After that, it introduces me this mechanic of enhancing your skills with these books, which I find much more interesting than the gear enhancing. Like, I actually like this mechanic. It kind of reminds me of like the finding books and learning skills in L2. Obviously, it's not quite the same, but it's definitely more interesting than just plussing your gear. Then there's a lot of different menus, you get to collect rewards. Feels very mobile game-ish to me, which isn't so good. Not a fan, but it is what it is. Then I just kind of kept going until I unlocked something new content-wise. I unlocked this content called Tatel's Towers, which is this like a single boss encounters you can do. And I thought to myself, finally, I unlocked something interesting. But then I just got disappointed with the combat again, and especially in like these single boss encounters, it really showcases the combat and the kind of how bad it feels to me. So I wasn't really too excited to continue from that point, really. I did get level 20, and that was pretty much enough for me. I felt like I gave the game a chance, and it just felt too much of a mobile game, from the UI to the combat, and when the only highlight of the game is the graphical fidelity, I just can't do it. I don't care for the graphics anyway, so to me, it's not that great. So all in all, my experience with Throne of Liberty over the weekend, not so positive, not that much fun. I was quite bored all the way, and it really made me question, like, was this all? After 12 years of development, this is it? I kind of expected more, but then again, I don't know if my expectations were too high. Maybe the fact that I've played all the NCSoft games and I enjoyed them all, I had a bit of a higher expectations for this game. I'm not sure, but tell me in the comments if that's the case. I still might try it on release, because I've seen some clips of like them trying to change the combat, make it a bit more interesting, and maybe the fact that this is getting wiped is kind of impacting my enjoyment, so I will try it again on release, see if it gets any better for me. Also, based on the open beta experience, especially on EU side, I think the game is going to be quite unplayable on release. The server is going to be getting hit hard, so... But that's pretty normal for any MMO. I'm not too worried. Just gotta wait a little bit before I play. But yeah, there we have it. My open beta experience with Throne of Liberty as a huge NCSoft fan. I would love to hear in the comments how you all feel about Throne of Liberty. Are you gonna play it on release? Are you excited for it? Give this video a like, subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.